You're here.
Hello, more healing out loud. This time with Disc Priests. I've been playing a bunch of Disc Priests and it's been super fun. So looks like we are heading to the Wind Boss first. Is what they want to do. The Wind Boss, is that? Yeah, they mean the Tempest. While we're flying over, here's the talents that I'm running. There's kind of two main builds that are being ran, with either Shadow Covenant on this side of the tree right here, or Wheel and Woe, and whatever this is, Aegis of Wrath, so like more shield, powering up your power word shield a little bit more, or instead kind of focusing more on like actual just raw throughput healing and stuff. I'll talk more about the talents when we can, but the main thing with Discipline Priest, I'll also show my gear really quick when I get a chance. So here's like the gear that we're using. 394. Just picked up this Infernal Writ, which is huge. It's a really nice trinket. But the main thing with Discipline Priest is just not holding on to a lot of your stuff. So this includes Rapture, this includes Powered Radiance, like just using the things that you have available to you and not sitting on them and kind of waiting, because that's the biggest problem, is like Discipline Priests just don't. This is like really bad. It's because we pulled these the Primal Gusts and we didn't purge them with anything, and I didn't have Mass Dispel up yet, so we needed to just not pull those yet unless we can purge them. I was gonna wait until we could Mass Dispel and then purge them. Oh no, all my speed is gone. That's actually so bad. This is an awful start, but we're just gonna slowly glide our way over there. So mainly what went wrong in that pack is literally just somebody pulled the primal, the little tiny like wind elementals, and didn't have anything to purge them, so I guess I could have started like purging them individually, but then there's like healing that needs to be done, so it makes it a little difficult either way. So when I go in here, I'm just literally going to use Radiance right off the bat, dot everything up. And then looks like we had one little tick of this go off. We're going to purge the shield, going to rebuff Fortitude, and then we should be all caught up. Use another Radiance because there's people taking damage. Purge this Primal Gust so it goes away. And now we're just watching the targets of these Stormbolts and just making sure that they are healthy when the Stormbolt cast goes off, if it does go off. So, a little bit of a rocky start, but what else do we expect in a pug? So, probably need to show this kind of stuff to show that I am not immune to dealing with these situations in keys. They're going to dot things up. Don't need to dot the Squall because my penance will get that. Can literally just Pain Sup immediately. Radiance. And then I should have used Schism first there, but that's okay. And then like right here, I'm just going to Rapture. And I'm just going to start shielding the people that seem like they are not super healthy. Just PI the Druid whenever his cooldowns go off. So we have the weak aura for that. And now again, just watching the Stormbolt cast and seeing who it's casting on, and just making sure that they are full HP. Or when that cast goes off, if it does. Clearing real quick before we jump up in the air. Looks like we are going to kill this patrol. Same thing here, just go right into a Radiance. Can pop my Desperate Prayer so I don't get one shot. Like right there, if I didn't press Desperate Prayer, dead right there. And we are just getting rid of the Primal Storm Shield shields with purges as soon as they spawn. And other than that, I have another Radiance up. And like you can see, Radiance comes up so frequently, you can use it so much. So you really should be trying to press it very often as your default application to putting atonements on people. anytime more than one person needs an atonement, you should just be defaulting to pressing Radiance, because it's going to be the most ideal in a lot of situations, rather than using a bunch of mana for things like Flash Heal and stuff like that. And then for single atonement applications or just single target healing and spot healing, we use Power Word Shield like on cooldown, especially with this Aegis build that we're using, where it's kind of more priority into our shields.
Marked by lightning. The final totem crumbles. Now take down the avatar.
So don't be afraid to use Powered Radiance and things like Rapture and our cooldowns. And then the next step also is using Powered Shield on cooldown, like I mentioned with this build. And then for Penance, you're either using it offensively, and then also feel free to use defensive Penance. If it's group healing that you're trying to do, you use Penance on the enemy. If you're trying to do single target healing or spot healing, defensive Penance, like using Penance on an ally, is super, super effective. It's actually very, very good, and a lot of people do not utilize it enough. It's extremely powerful for like tank healing or just spot healing in general, especially with this build, because after every Penance you can follow up with a really big Power Word Shield. And so now the goal here for this boss is you want to be collecting as many orbs as you can before the intermission, which the intermission is the storm. And then you want to not collect orbs during the storm. So like here we have the storm coming up, so now I'm going to focus on healing. I'm going to maybe grab one orb because I just want to refresh my stacks and get closer to 10. But other than that, I am going to press a defensive and a health pot. Should have pressed that a lot sooner, like before I casted the Radiance, but it worked out. And now we just top everybody off before this goes off. We use Power Word Shield. We lost our stacks, but that's okay. We got cleaved on accident by the tank. And now it's just same thing. We're running around collecting orbs, but I'm still making sure I'm using things like Power Word Shield and defensive Penance to keep the group topped up while I pick up orbs. I'm gonna just paints up the tank here just to keep everybody as healthy as I can. Because keeping people healthy until the storm is also just as important as healing during the storm. Usually most people that die during the storm is because they fell behind and weren't full HP going into the storm to begin with. Got this orb at the last second. Hunter's kind of in trouble, so we're going to use a defensive Penance plus a Power Word Shield. Purge the boss here. And then we're going to have a storm coming up here. So I Shadow Fiend this one. Schism, and then I don't have time to like sit there and atonement heal, so I'm going to use Rapture instead. Should be able to live here, and then we Radiance at the end, and then follow up with a big Penance. Definitely called it a little too close there. We have a big Power Word Shield on the Hunter, so he should be okay. And then when I want to apply Radiance, I'm stepping in the middle here by the boss, and then Radiancing on myself, because then it will spread and I know like where it's targeting. Can also target the tank, but just to be absolutely safe and make sure it covers everybody, I'm just walking in sometimes and doing it myself, just so I know exactly where it is. Like here I can probably hit the tank and then like see it miss the Druid there because he was too far away, but that's fine because we can just hit him with something else. And there we go. That was definitely a lot more messy than it should have been. What I should have done to make that cleaner is make sure that I Schism before the storm actually starts doing damage, because I was doing my like damage rotation with atonement healing a little bit too late, so I would fall behind. And then the other thing is I should always prioritize some kind of like offensive cooldown on myself or for myself, so that would include like I need to use Rapture for one of the storms. I need to use like Power Infusion could count as one, like Power Infusion, and then a bunch of, you know, offensive healing and stuff like that. You can mind games every single one, and I definitely didn't do that, so I should have made sure like anything that's a minute cooldown or lower should be used every single storm, and then other abilities you have to kind of fit in like a puzzle. But the main idea is the storms happen every minute, so plan around that and make sure you have something or multiple things ready for each one. Oh no, we have this big patrol here. That's going to be rough. Alright, so we Radiance early here. Gonna press Desperate Prayer early here. Gonna just grip the Hunter to clear. And then we use Radiance here. I'm not gonna hesitate with it. I'm just gonna use it. And I'm just spamming shields on the people that are taking damage, which right now that is the Hunter and the Druid. And then I'll Radiance here again. Schism, Mind Games, Defensive Penance the Druids because he has the bleed. Then we can't Radiance again because there is the volley. And now I got a Radiance off, so we're good. Have more bleeds. Can just power, or what is it? Pain suppression myself. Then we Radiance here again. And see, like, I'm never sitting here spamming Flash Heal on people. It is much more about just applying atonements as efficiently as possible and then using powerful spells to heal with that atonement. And I'm not hesitating in between. I'm not like sitting there just pressing Smite and Flash Heal over and over because that's how you fall behind really fast on a Discipline Priest.
Elements answer to me.
And then here I dot some things up. We're gonna shield the Druid. We're gonna Defensive Penance the Hunter.
5, 4,
And I'll just use literally 2 Radiance charges just to kind of top everybody up. I didn't get that clear in time because I didn't have my grip up. I tried gripping the tank and that was just bad on my part. I didn't see that my grip was on cooldown. So there we just fell behind a little bit because we were getting mana back. Let me fly back in here. Power Word Shield the Hunter. Defensive Penance. And just use a Radiance just to top off the entire group. Because mostly everyone was healthy, but it's just to like ensure that everyone is literally full HP going into the next pull. And then here we're watching the bleeds mostly, so Power Word Shield on the people with bleeds. Also, they did make it to where Discipline Priest, your atonement healing isn't reduced when you have multiple atonements out anymore. It's now beyond 5 is when it starts reducing. So in a dungeon you always do full healing. So having 5 atonements out like this, there's no downside to it. If you're like, even if you're just trying to heal one player in the group, having 5 atonements doesn't negatively impact that like it used to with Sins of the Many, I believe it was called, where your damage was increased based on the like fewer atonements you had out, the more damage you did, which means that you were doing more atonement healing. But now that talent is somewhere in here and it does not affect it negatively in the same way. Don't know exactly where it is and I can't find it without my group dying, so need to run up here. I was getting mana. Shield the Hunter, Radiance myself because I got a bleed. Can also just Desperate Prayer in case I get random multi-shot and stuff by the longbow. The Eye of the Druid. Elements expired, so we just Radiance. And there we go. Build the tank. Throw a few dots out. Radiance, Shadow Fiend. Heal up the Hunter. That instant cast Flash Heal that we had, I'll use a Defensive Penance on him as well, and then shield him again. So we get that Empowered Shield after every penance. We either get an Empowered Shield or an Empowered Smite. So usually if I need to do healing, I'll do a shield, and then if I don't have any healing to do, then we would use a Smite instead, just for extra damage pretty much. Penance, we shield myself. Paints up myself as well because they're enraged, so these are going to hurt pretty bad. And then we just Defensive Penance. There we go. Try to maybe get a food buff real quick before we kill this boss or fight this boss. I'm going to stay by whichever lance is currently active, and we're going to focus on that. And then we should be able to just Radiance the tank each time, and that should hit everybody in the group. So here we Radiance the tank again. Oh, he just went out of range just with this stomp, but that's okay. Need to just make sure that the hunter's topped off here before we hit the ballista, so I can penance the hunter as I walk away. And then we use the lance.
5, 4,
And we radiance the warrior. It hits everybody. They're gonna have a new lance. Pop up the new ad. Yeah, the druid. Making our way over here, but still making sure I'm in range to do healing. Penance as we walk away, and I'm just gonna send it right now.
5, 4,
Radiance the tank again.
1.
Got this guy. We gotta run pretty far for this next lance, so I'm gonna start moving every time I penance and use an instant cast ability like Shadow or Death. Radiance the tank, hits everybody again. And we go. Just gonna send it again.
5, 4, 3,
Radiance tank.
1.
Same thing, make our way over with these instant cast abilities. Radiance the tank for the shards of stone that's going to hit us. Mind games early, and then penance right as it's going off.
4, 3,
Grip the tank to clear. Fire this off.
5, 4, 3,
And we shouldn't need another ballista, but I'm still going to make my way over there as usual. Just in case, but usually it should be dead by now. Like, the eruption isn't for 20 seconds, and he's losing much more health than that. Radiance the tank one more time. Can just honestly use Shadow Fiend here. Don't really need to, but just to pick everybody up. And then we just penance and fire the ballista, and there we go.
5, 4,
It's all about just being efficient with our movement and stuff as we head over to the next lance, so we're not like running over to the lance while doing nothing. We want to be actively doing something while in movement. So the abilities that allow us to move, that's when we want to move. So when we're casting penance, when we're casting, like we're reapplying our Purge the Wicked, or we are casting things like Divine Star, penance, all that kind of stuff. I already said penance, but that's the idea of when you want to be moving, is when the game allows you to move while still doing other things. You don't want to just be moving most of the time. Even in raid and stuff, that's like a pretty big improvement on mindset to have, is try to move when the game forces you to or allows you to, rather than just moving because you have to and you aren't doing anything productive while you're moving. You always want to try to be doing something even while moving. So use things that are in your toolkit that you can use while on the move.
Eagles will feast on your flesh.
It's a pretty gross pull to do, so we're just going to paints up the tank immediately. And unfortunately, a lot of tanks don't know that this chant here, it buffs all of the enemies if they are in it. So the tank will only move just far enough away to where they aren't in it. But then all the ads get buffed and stuff, so it's kind of annoying. And then in these packs, it doesn't really matter what we're targeting too much. I just try to target whatever has the most HP, and then the main focus is just keeping the group alive. So we go to the next pack, which is probably just going to be here. And same thing, power and shield the tank, and just radiance right away. Start applying some dots to the mobs. And then we target something. Schism, move, radiance. Pick up our soul while we're casting penance. I'm not just running to my soul, I'm doing something while I pick it up. Radiance the tank again. Target the highest health mob, and we'll skid some penance. Don't really need to reapply atonements right now. I can just throw a shield on the tank just to keep him full health. And then if the Shatter Soul goes off, we just cast a Radiance to do some healing. And then penance while we pick up our soul. You're off to the new mob. Start dotting up right away. Then we'll cast a Radiance. Penance to apply dots to everything else. And we are Schism, Mind Blast, Mind Games, Radiance, and now we can Penance and move to our soul. See, I didn't move to my soul right away there. Like, it's debatable if it's worth going to it right away because of the reduction that you have, but I waited until I had something up where I could move while casting, and then I moved. We apply some dots here. And we'll shield the tank here because he's the only one taking damage. There's another Shatter Soul. So we'll just throw Radiance out, even though we don't get to do anything with it, but this will all be back on off cooldown by the time we get to the next pack.
I will stomp on your grave.
So we go here, applying dots. It's always what I'm trying to do first, as long as we're not taking immediate damage. And then there, as soon as we take damage, I take a break, Radiance, Schism, Mind Blast, Penance. Run to my soul while I'm in that Penance. And then I end it with a Powered Shield. Mind Games, and we're just focusing the high health guy here at this point. Just throw another Radiance out, even though we probably won't take any damage, but again, I am not negatively impacted by pressing Radiance anymore like we were previously. We want to clear with the tank here,
3,
so we land. PI the Druid here before the boss so that we get it up again for the boss. Probably would want it on pole, but that's okay. We technically want more trash here anyways, so we might end up doing more trash before we do the boss. We might, I think because we have Lust up, we'd probably kill the boss and then do more trash, because usually you do like to 95% trash or something here. Usually the play.
You shall pay for this blasphemy.
Alright, so this boss, she just randomly quick shots constantly, and she's going to do the most damage right here when she Spirit Leaps, because when she Spirit Leaps, if the other tank, like, see, the tanks being really good about putting the bosses back together really quickly, but in a lot of pugs, it'll take a little bit longer for the tank to get the two bosses together, stacked on top of each other. And the entire time that they are not stacked on top of each other, they deal extra damage. So her quick shots will do like twice as much damage. So it's something you want to be really careful of. And then what we're basically doing here is just pressing Radiance constantly to keep our atonements going. So we want to keep atonements on pretty much everyone at all times during this boss fight.
4,
And then every time that she casts Gale Arrow, which is coming up right here. Oh, it's actually not here. It'll be the like tornadoes that spawn from us. When she does that ability, that's when you want to plan a major healing cooldown pretty much every single time. Like, see, those quick shots did a ton of extra damage because of the bosses being separated. Use a defensive
5,
powered shield there after that penance. And then here, like, we're not full HP, so I'm going to I'm going to pain set myself, and then use something big on the hunter to keep him topped up. And then the other two players were nice and healthy, so we were okay. It's Mind Games here. Also start using Rapture a lot more. Just used to not needing it from Shadowlands, of not needing too much healing. But it's definitely worthwhile. And then we'll use a Powered Fortitude again. I don't know why my camera keeps messing up, so my apologies. And then here we're going to have another Gale Arrow soon, so I'm going to start pressing Rapture and just shielding people for when it comes up. Radiance. I do need to watch my mana here because I'm spending a little bit too much.
1,
And then we Radiance right as this goes out. And then I can Desperate Prayer and Health Pot because she was targeting me with that Gale Arrow. Or just the quick shot, I mean. Use our procs here. Use the Defensive Penance. And then shield the Hunter because he's the least healthy. And we keep going. Schism. Shadow or Death for some nice atonement healing. Mind Games. Get out of that. Powered shield myself because I didn't get hit by the radiance.
5,
And there we go.
4, 3,
Rip this guy before he goes flying away.
My children.
And we're probably going to do some more trash now. Try to get a little bit of mana. Looks like they're going into this, so I probably won't be able to get too much mana. So we're going to drop a barrier. Going to shield the tank. Going to radiance. Going to target one of these guys that are nice and healthy. Radiance the tank again as the Toments are getting low. Mind Games, Penance, Mind Blast. Flash Heal and a Powered Shield. Defensive Penance, really effective there. And then we Powered Shield again. Yeah, the Druid here, a little bit late, but that's alright. Let's use our Flash Heals and another Empowered Penance. Empowered Shield on the tank. Keep him nice and healthy, and then we probably need to do one more pack. We got aggro on that, so I'm just going to fade. Cutting everything up. And Shadow Fiend here, just for some extra support. Schism, Mind Blast, Divine Star through all of it. Penance, Mind Games, and paints up the tank right away so that we have it back up for later on the boss fight. And then here, it seems like no one's really taken damage except for the tank for now at least. Not 100% sure what all these do, but just going to use Defensive Penance into Powered Shield basically every time I can. Just every time Penance is up, I'm just going to throw it into the tank. And then we Powered Shield right after. That Powered Shield should have went on the Paladin just because he's kind of getting low. We don't want him to randomly die. On a higher key, probably just would have died there to damage, so. Alright, let me fly out of here.
Centaur, stomp your hooves, blow your horns, let the rage of Onara guide you.
Oh, I'm going so slow. Oh my gosh, that was close.
Follow the thunder of your Khan's attack.
Onir, the Wind Mother calls us to war.
I will use Onara's
Daughters and
power
sons of
A
Teera,
hunter pulled.
charge!
Oh, nice feign. Very nice.
Bring forth a mightier Maruuk. Greatness.
Shield the warrior and then try to get some mana while we're fighting these guys so I don't have to restore all my mana right before the boss fight. And once we have some good mana, I will go back to helping out here. And then we'll just Radiance to top off the people that aren't full HP.
Marked by lightning.
Here I'm not worried about how much damage the tank is taking because there's a lot of downtime. Like these guys cast lots of abilities and stuff, so they're not melee attacking constantly. So I'm just using penances and all that stuff offensively for damage. We do want to make sure that they die kind of evenly because they do enrage if the other dies before they don't die near each other. And then we'll just Radiance here as they get low just in case. Just keep everybody healthy. Mind Games. Alrighty, here we go. Hopefully we crowd control them. Looks like we're not going to. Intermission's going to be really rough without crowd controlling these ads, but it's okay. Should be alright. We just have to use Rapture in the intermission for sure.
3, 2,
I start out with just focusing on doing damage. Shield for each of these rending strikes on the tank.
Marked by lightning.
The weak must die.
And then as this Iron Spear goes out, I'll just throw our Radiance. Of course it hit the wrong person.
2, 1.
Just needed to target the Paladin there, I think.
And Eward.
And I'm pretty much saving everything for the intermission. So we're going to get an upheaval here where we all take damage, so I just Radiance. Okay, that was a weird way to put it right on top of me, but that's alright. Almost got comboed. But we just top everybody off. We have tons of time, so we don't have to like stress here and use cooldowns or anything for the upheavals in phase 1. Because they are super easy to deal with.
5, 4, 3,
And then we have the Iron Spear, so should just throw a shield on that guy, but he's kind of running pretty far away. And we throw another Radiance out here for this. Schism,
4,
shield the Druid.
2,
And here we go, so we PI, we're gonna Rapture early, because as soon as you fall behind in this phase, somebody gets one shot every single time. And then our main focus is dodging the lightning on the floor, and keeping people as full HP as we possibly can. So that means using Paints up on somebody, using Radiance, and helping kill these ads as soon as possible, using our Fear to interrupt some of the Storm Bolts, using Desperate Prayer just in case any of those randomly decided to hit us, which they did not.
2, 1.
Using everything just to blanket the group. And then he spell reflected that, so we're all good. And then here we need to watch out for the Static Spear and then the Crackling Upheaval. Those are going to be the two main things that we use cooldowns for. So I'm going to use a Radiance Charge here, and then wait until we get sucked in, and then I'll use Penance.
2, 1.
Use a Mind Games here, dispel this, and then we Radiance again. Get out of this lightning. We always have to get out of the lightning immediately. We can't finish casting them. We need to move right away.
5, 4, 3.
And then here's where stuff starts hurting.
Dispel.
I'll reflect that. Good.
The elements answer to me.
This is where Radiance is going to start not hitting everybody, so I need to be mindful of that. And I did not see that lightning under me. That was really bad. Gonna just health pot there.
1.
And we Radiance, Schism, get out of that lightning, get out of that lightning. Spell Reflect again, very good. And here's another upheaval, so I'll just Power Word Shield myself. Since I wasn't fully ready there, I should have used probably Rapture and just heal everybody up, but we're okay.
Dispel.
We dispel that right away. And boss is dead. Cool. And that is Nokhud. So, and we still almost two-chested that with the terrible, terrible start, so. Hopefully that helps some aspiring Discipline Priests, because Discipline Priest is super fun, it's super rewarding, it's just hard to play in the sense that you really got to stay ahead in Mythic Plus. And so hopefully me talking through stuff gives you kind of some context into how I try to think of it and how I try to stay ahead. It's just as you get into higher and higher keys, like even myself, as I start doing higher keys and doing more commentary, I'm going to have to start finding more creative ways to still play like this and play with this mindset that I have, but use less mana. Because right now I use too much mana, and that is not going to work in really high keys where the boss fights last longer or the trash pulls last longer and stuff like that. So hopefully this was helpful. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next one.